Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Coaster Foamer. In my last video, I talked about coasters that I'm looking forward to, but what about the ones that I have ridden? Well, there's tons of places I've been. There are a few places that I have with major credit completion, and one of those is the state of Indiana. It's honestly not that hard to get credit completion. There are only two major theme parks in the state, those being Indiana Beach, slightly north of central Indiana, and Holiday World in southern Indiana. I was lucky enough to visit both of them last summer and got on every single coaster in both of those parks, shaping up perfectly for a video like this. Now, I'm not going to be including any of the small mini parks and coasters such as Malibu Jacks, as I have not ridden them, and the video would be really boring ranking just a bunch of kiddie coasters and SBF Visa spinners and stuff like that. Before we start, I want to say that this is all my opinion and everyone is allowed to have their own opinions about each coaster on the list, so don't be offended if I didn't enjoy your favorite ride as much as you enjoyed it, or if I enjoyed a ride that you hate. Now, there are a few hot takes in here, so be sure to stick around to the end to find out what those are, but until then, let's begin. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to throw kiddie coasters in, so I'm just going to give a quick honorable mention to Howler at Holiday World, the only true kiddie coaster that I rode in the state. It's a Zamperla family coaster that opened in the year 1999, serving as a good first coaster for the kids. It's not comfortable for a tall person, but it's not supposed to be. It's mostly just a one and done credit. Now, to start the list. At dead last at number 12 is Cyclone at Indiana Beach. Now, even though I have this listed as the worst in the state, this ride's honestly not that bad. Opening in 2022 after traveling the Mexican Fair circuit for years, it's just your basic Zyklon Galaxy model. Provided actually a pretty smooth ride, and it's just fun for the whole family. It's nothing special, but it doesn't need to be, it's kind of just there. Next, coming up at number 11 is Good Gravy at Holiday World. This is actually a great ride for what it is. Opening in 2024, this is one of Vekoma's new family boomerang models. This was the second family boomerang that I've done now, and I like this much more than your normal family coaster that you find at parks all over the country. Like their larger counterparts, these bring you up backwards on a lift hill before dropping you through a fun layout, going up a lift spike, and then doing it all again backwards. I actually prefer this one over the one I did at Kings Island, as this one felt to give more forces and the layout felt more original. The station as well was incredibly themed, and I honestly loved waiting in line for this ride because there was something new around every corner. I really liked how it was modeled after a home during Thanksgiving, as it is in the Thanksgiving section of the park. Now, to open the top 10, we have Tiger at Indiana Beach. Now, this ride actually caught me off guard when I rode it. This is one of only 3 Schwarzkopf Jetstar 1s still in operation, and the only one in North America. Now, on this ride, you ride in a single row seat car, which is basically where it's just one row, kind of like RMC Raptors, seating a few people per train, and it has no true restraint. Due to that, I wasn't expecting anything, but the first drop actually gave a little bit of airtime in the back, which is a really fun feeling with no restraint. The rest of the ride was really fun and forceful as well, completing a really good supporting coaster for the park. At number 9, we have what is probably the weirdest coaster in the entire world, Lost Coaster of Superstition Mountain at Indiana Beach. What in the world is this ride? Even the name is not normal. This ride is the hardest ride to rank ever, because on one hand, this ride is absolutely atrocious, but on the other hand, this ride's also incredible. How does that make any sense? Let me set the stage here. This ride was formerly a dark ride of all things, and Indiana Beach contracted CCI and had them put a roller coaster in their old dark ride, and they created this strange masterpiece. It has an elevator lift as well, which just adds to the strangeness, and was one of the last rides CCI ever built. Due to the fact that it is an old dark ride, there's not a lot of room in there, so this thing kind of throws you all over the place in a great way, and the trains are extremely well padded, so luckily it doesn't hurt when it does that. Honestly, I can make a full-scale review about how silly this ride is if you guys are interested, because I would love to do that, because this ride is so weird and strange and quirky, and it's unlike anything you'll ride anywhere else in the world. Coming in now at number 8, we have Hoosier Hurricane at Indiana Beach. This ride looks like it should be great, being one of the largest rides in the park. Now, it opened in the year 1994 and is another CCI coaster, and it stands 77 feet tall with over 2,700 feet of track, and it even has the coveted buzz bar restraints. But this thing is just dumb. It's big, it's fast, but that's really it. It's honestly a shame because this ride does have a ton of potential, but it just does nothing at all. There's no airtime, no true forces. It just runs on the track. I mean, it's still a fun ride, and I would still say it's a must ride at the park because, I mean, it is pretty big, but just don't expect anything out of it. Coming in now at number 7, we have Cornball Express at Indiana Beach. This is definitely the first hot take here. Now, I was told this is the standout coaster at Indiana Beach. Built in 2001, again, by CCI, this ride is similar to Hoosier Hurricane, and it does stand out in the park as another one of their big wooden coasters, standing 55 feet with over 2,100 feet of track. Now, this ride also has the famous buzz bars, and I was told that it gave some really strong and good airtime. I don't know if I just caught on a bad day or what, but when I rode it, it barely did anything. Granted, it did do more than Hoosier Hurricane, but it did not do nearly as much as I was expecting. Now, again, to be fair, the day I was there was completely empty in the park, and I literally had the entire train to myself and my friend, so I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, but before I do get a good ride on it, it will have to stay here at number 7. Now, coming in at number 6 is when we really start getting into the great rides here, and we have Raven at Holiday World. Now, in my opinion, this is the worst of the 3 big wooden coasters at Holiday World, but it's still not bad. I do want to throw out there that the difference between this and Cornball Express at number 7 is a large gap, and this ride is much better. Built in 1995 by, again, CCI, this ride stands 80 feet tall and has 2,800 feet of track, and honestly, it's a great ride. The forces are really fun, and it's pretty fast as it flies through the woods, and it does give good airtime. The layout is a ton of fun, and honestly, you don't know what's coming up next, and I love that about it. Now, my biggest complaint about it is the ride does have some pretty bad potholes that do need fixed, but they actually weren't as bad as I was expecting them to, because people did warn me it had potholes, and I noticed them, but not as bad as I was expecting. Now, this is actually a really good first ride of the day for the park, as it's the first coaster that you encounter when you walk through the gates just down the hill a little bit, and it's still definitely a must ride at Holiday World. To open the top 5 now, we have Steel Hog at Indiana Beach. Now, this ride exceeded my expectations for sure. I really enjoyed every part of this ride, and like people say, it really does feel like a crazy thrill Wild Mouse in the best way possible. You start with one of the steepest drops in the entire world at 111 degrees. It's got crazy outer bank turns, wild inversions, all within an extremely tight ride space, making for a very fun ride. Now, one complaint I do see from a lot of people about this ride is the restraints on it, but even as a tall 6'7" man, I found them to not be that bad at all. I find many restraints, like example the ones on Maverick at Cedar Point, to be way worse than these, and I actually don't think that it took away from the ride experience in any way. I also actually found the ride to be very smooth, something I've actually found on every single other S&S coaster I've ridden, with those being Max Force and Steel Curtain. S&S actually is my most underrated ride manufacturer by far, as I've loved every product that I've ridden by them. Coming in now at number 4, we have All American Triple Loop at Indiana Beach. Opening in 2024 after moving here from Mexico after a tragic accident, many people are probably surprised to see this ride so up high on this list. First though, let's get into some history for this ride, because the history of this thing is crazy. This ride originally opened in 1984 as a traveling coaster for the German fair circuit, before being passed around to every single continent other than Africa and Oceania, landing here at Indiana Beach after 2019. Before this, it operated in Mexico as Chimera, probably saying that wrong, apologies if I did, and unfortunately on September 28th, 2019, one of the rides on it derailed, and that killed 2 guests that were riding the ride. Now, this obviously caused the ride to close, and luckily before they scrapped it, Gene Staples came in and rescued it. Now, before you do get too scared to come ride it, I can promise this ride is much safer now. They got new trains and it's being operated with regulations now, unlike they have in Mexico. And Mexico is also a country with a lengthy amusement accident history due to lack of safety regulations. Now, when this ride first opened at Indiana Beach, it had over-the-shoulder restraints, which I was told were horrendous, making it one of the worst coasters on planet Earth. But luckily, Indiana Beach listened to the complaints, and they soon bought new trains with only a lap bar, and that's how I rode it. With these new trains, I actually found the ride to be butter smooth and gave a very intense ride in the front row. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a back row ride as they were having serious problems with downtime at the time that I was at the park, and they opened it for literally an hour in the middle of the day with only 4 rows available. But what matters is I rode it. This ride right here is easily the most underrated ride in the country. Now, to open up the top 3, we have Legend at Holiday World. This right here is one of the best wooden roller coasters in the world, and it is not talked about enough at all. Built again by CCI and opening in the year 2000, this monster wooden coaster has the length of over 4,000 feet of track and reaches speeds of nearly 60 miles an hour. This ride is actually very smooth for a wooden coaster as well, having been taken care of very nicely by the park. Now, I think the reason this ride's not talked about enough is it does hide behind another elite wooden coaster that is later on this list that we'll take a look at soon. This ride is so much fun though, and honestly might have my favorite layout of any coaster I've ever been on. It winds through the woods and has great pops of airtime. You have no idea what's coming next, and I love that. The best part of this ride by far is the helix towards the end of the ride. Helix it's insane, it's incredible. I actually like this helix more than the helix on the Beast, which is crazy because that is one of the best helixes in the world. This ride is an absolute must ride at Holiday World. And now at number 2, we have Thunderbird at Holiday World. This is the only still thrill coaster at Holiday World, and what was the only launched wing coaster in the US before Rapterra opened last year. Built by B&M and opening in the year 2015, this ride smacks. Now, this is the only B&M in this state, but it's one of the best in the country. I can safely say that this is the best B&M wing in the country, having both ridden X-Flight at Six Flags Great America and Gatekeeper at Cedar Point, and Rapterra doesn't seem to be better than this in any way. This ride starts with a really good launch that I honestly wasn't expecting to be that good. And then it goes into a great layout that is easily the most forceful of the 3 wings that I've done. I especially love the inversion through the barn at the end. Great head chopper, and it was a ton of fun going through that. It is a little short, but it does make up for that in the forces, the launch, and the pure quality of the ride. Now, being a mid-2010s B&M, it is, of course, very smooth, and again, a must-ride at Holiday World. And that brings us to the best coaster in Indiana and the best wooden coaster that I've ever been on, the Voyage at Holiday World. This ride is massive. This ride is the first thing that you'll see pulling up to the park, standing a towering 159 feet tall. I was not mentally prepared for the size of this ride, and I honestly could barely keep my eyes on the road driving up past it. It looks so good. Opening in the year 2006 and built by the Gravity Group, this is also one of the longest coasters in the entire world, coming in at a staggering 6,442 feet of track. Now, before you get too mad at about what to say, please remember this is still my favorite wooden coaster and it is in my top 10. That being said, I did find this ride to be overrated. A lot of people have this as their number 1 overall coaster, and I just didn't see that. I have this ride ranked just above Mystic Timbers at Kings Island, and these two are actually pretty close in my book. This ride is still insane though. It is so fast and it gives great airtime, although honestly not as good as I was expecting. I also find the layout to be a little boring being basically just a fancy out and back layout. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with an out and back layout. But that being said, a lot of people say this has one of the best layouts in the world, and I just don't see it. That being said though, at the end of the day, this ride is still amazing. I'm sure it rides way better during Hollywood Nights, and I do need to get down there to that event one of these days, and I'm sure it'll go up in my rankings then, but kind of similar to Cornball Express at Indiana Beach, until I actually experience it like that, I'm going to rank it like I wrote it. Sorry to anyone I've offended, I just don't see the hype, but nonetheless, this is still the best ride in Indiana, and definitely one of the best rides in the world. And with that, we've come to the end of my second video. Indiana is honestly a very underrated state for coasters, having two fantastic parks in the state. While it's not at the levels of Ohio or Florida, it's still a state that does need to be talked about more, with some very underrated rides found within its borders. I highly recommend visiting both of these parks. Now, if you can only choose one, I'd definitely say Holiday World, and it is actually my second favorite park I've ever visited, behind the likes of, you know, Cedar Point. But Indiana Beach still has its own charm and definitely deserves a visit as well. If you guys want a full park review of both of these parks, please let me know in the comments below, as I'd be more than happy to do that. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like and subscribe to help get my channel off the ground. But with that, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.